Well, good morning, everybody. And if you saw the old link that said 9 o'clock tonight, that's on me. We got it fixed. I got the great Doc Vecchi here. And last week we had Jeff Green on the show to talk about drills and training. We're going to get more granular in that discussion today with Doc Vecchi, our FBI expert on everything school safety. Doc, how was your anniversary, and happy anniversary?
No, well, thank you very much. It was quiet and very nice. Had a great time. It's always good to have the personal time with my bride. Always love that. So,
Well, congratulations on making it another year. That's always a blessing. And with that, let's talk about drills and training and really what our teachers and administrators need to be thinking about when they're going through this process.
sure, absolutely. And and of course, we focus a lot on schools, but of course, this also extends to workplaces as well on this. And I think a lot of times what I find when, like, for example, if we go do a training at a school or at a workplace, and rather it's with the SafeDefend system or not, but it's specifically with the SafeDefend system, we have a tendency that the expectation is that we're going to give you 45 minutes, right? And that's considered training, and it's really not. And I kind of want to spend a little time today kind of talking the differences between training, education, drills, and exercises, because the bottom line is that each one is as a separate activity, and each one is important in its own right, but you can't conflate teaching and training, or education and training, or knowledge and training. I kind of want to break it down and kind of put it in perspective. Also, to emphasize, the importance of the training that we do here at SafeDefend, especially with the protection tools and the medical trauma tools that we
Yep.
include in our training. A couple things to talk about or start off with is, we always hear about the term of education and training, right? Everybody says that. A lot of people conflate it, they mix it up. The bottom line is that education is just simply obtaining knowledge. So, what does that mean, right? Well, it means that you would go to a class or a webinar or some sort of lecture. And, during that time, you may be shown some videos about the subject that you're dealing with. So let's put it in perspective of what we do here, right? We talk a lot about the skills of, surviving that critical time gap, right? And then we look at, okay, so what are the objectives within that bigger objective, which is survival, right? Well, a couple things. We focus on the actual practice of the technology, right? Education of the technology. So, for example, the SafeDefend system, how to activate it, what to expect, what it's going to do. Also, what you can do with or without the SafeDefend system, which is separate, actually, and that's your evading skills, your escaping skills, your engaging skills, and of course, stopping the bleed. So we have to kind of look at everything as, what are we focusing on? So the critical time gap is kind of like our big objective, surviving that. And then what are the things that make that easier or better, that we need to learn? And that's going to be the knowledge of how to use the technology, the SafeDefend system, as well as your ability to escape, evade, or engage if necessary, and stop the bleed. So we kind of start with that, right? And so when you're going to learn about that, the first thing is obtaining knowledge, right? So I need to learn about the knowledge, about the system, what it is, how to activate it. And I'm going to learn that initially through watching videos, listening to lecture, maybe a presentation. We're going to maybe talk about it in terms of case studies, maybe a demonstration by the instructor or the person on the video. And then what we usually leave with after the education, which I know, Dave, that you're very familiar with because you being a pilot, are checklists. And the checklists are reminders of what we covered in that education or that training, not the training, but the education, that knowledge piece. And that gives us the starting point. And if that's all we do, which can be done in an hour, probably, in each one of these skills, it's not great, because all you're getting is a little bit of knowledge and a checklist, but really no way to, okay, how are we going to make this work? So that's kind of education. And a lot of people say, okay, well, that's all we need. That's good to know. Well, that's fine, but it's not training. It's not being able to learn and apply skills. And then that leads us to the next big thing, right? Which is the training. So training, it's the development and application of skills that's based on the knowledge that we just learned. So for example, if we learned about evading, for example, evading, we have different skill sets in evading. If you're going to learn about how to use the baton that we have as part of our safety tools, there's going to be specific things that you're going to have to train on. And so these are specific skills that you have to learn based on the knowledge. Okay. So then how do you do that? Well, the training is done through drills and exercises. It's done through an understanding and having the best equipment available and the technology that's going to make the drills and exercises more effective. So that's what we're talking about in training and development of skills. Okay, that's kind of the first level that we talk about, right? So coming in to do an hour's worth of training is really not training. It's probably just education and obtaining knowledge. Okay, now if we look at it from the standpoint of, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to talk about evading. How do we evade the attacker, or how do we use the baton, for example? Well, drills and exercises are not the same either, and people conflate that. So when you kind of narrow it down from training, we focus on skill development through drills and exercises. So you have a different purpose for each, right? So your drills are basically learning single or sequential skills. And I'll take the example, I don't know if you can see this or not, is the baton, right? Okay. First off, we have to know, how to get the baton in our hand, okay, how to open it, how to strike, and maybe how to close it. And those are going to be individual single skills, and then you put it together in the sequence, right? Then you're going to do exercises to develop those skills, and that's different. Once I know how to grasp the baton, okay, how to open it, rather I'm going to open it like this, or I'm going to open it more like this. Okay, those are two different skills, but putting them together, that's an exercise. And then maybe like what we do for the teachers and for employees, we have them come up and you hit a pad or something, right? You get them to feel what it's like to strike the baton. Same with the pepper spray, same with anything else that we're going to do. And so then what we do is we think about, the exercises, which is coordinating those skills in a specific context or environment, right? Like a classroom or in a manufacturing plant or whatever you're going to do, right? And so as we start thinking about this, right, we look at, evading, escaping, engaging, or using the baton or pepper spray, basically in the form of these drills and exercises, okay? And then the other thing is repetition, okay? Repetition. If you're going to use drills, you're reinforcing muscle memory. If you are using exercises, you're practicing and coordinating those drills together, such as in a fire drill. Everybody knows the fire drill, right? You have different things that you do, and then you put it all together, and you do it as a group. And you can do this for active shooter, active killer, drills and exercises. Reunification. After the event is over with. The police do the same thing. They have their different skill sets and their different equipment, right? They've got their weapons, their firearms. They've got the technology that they use. They have their drills on, how to engage the tactics, and then they put it together and they practice it. And the other thing is that, the last two things I kind of want to cover, and then I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Is the context, right? Are you dealing with an evasion context, a workplace context? Are you dealing with a school context? And then are these exercises and drills transferable? And they really are, because we saw this in the Kansas City shooting not too long ago here. So we had a lot of kids that got shot, and nothing that killed them, luckily, but they got hit like the arms and whatever. Well, one kid was on News Nation, and he used the drills he learned in his active shooter drills, and applied it to the parade when he was there with his parents. And so it was the transferring of these skills to other areas. And so you don't have to be in the school to make evade and escape and engage work, right? It works in malls, it works in other contexts. And I think that's also really important. And I think that's really empowering for people to know that you can take these very things that we teach at SafeDefend and apply it in your everyday life. And I like to just kind of leave it at that and get your thoughts on that.
Well, it's real simple, Doc. Education without practical application equals failure. And I'm going to talk to all the coaches out there. Hey, coach, would you just give your quarterback the playbook and go, you got it, buddy. These are the plays for Friday night. Let's get after it. Defensive coordinator, do you do tackling drills in practice? Have you walked through the proper process and the education to teach your players how to do that? To my volleyball coaches out there, do you guys sit in a room and look at film about where you are on the court and who's responsible for what and how we're going to set that shot for this next team, and then you go out and practice it? Of course you do. So when we're talking about life safety stuff, why are we not educating, creating practical application and training events to reinforce good habits so when the unthinkable happens, we know what to do? When it's stressful and we're down 10 points in the fourth quarter, we know what we're going to do. And I think it's really important for people to understand that it always makes me laugh when I look at, and I don't want to be insulting, but when I look at how people look at education and the piece they're missing for our kids, right? Because if you take a student and you say, this is the math problem, and you put it in a practical business application, they go, oh, that makes sense, right? You take the shop student and you go through the classroom what to do, and then they build a piece of furniture. Goes, that's why we did that. That makes sense. But you can't have that revelation as a student or a teacher unless you follow the steps. Pilot training is probably one of the best training programs in the world, U.S. Air Force pilot training, and they get it right. You have classroom, you have self-study, read the material, do your homework, classroom, simulator where you get to show and do without killing yourself. Then you get in the airplane and the instructor shows you what to do, and then you perform the drill after he shows you, and they critique you and reinforce the good things you're doing and talk about the bad things you did in that maneuver. We need to treat everything we do, especially when it comes to life safety, from the same perspective of an Air Force pilot. We're going to show you what to do. We're going to give you some homework. I want you to study this. Then we're going to talk about it to make sure you understand it. Then we're going to demo it for you. Then you're going to do it. And we should do that twice a year at a minimum for our teachers. And I don't think it's that hard. And I think you're absolutely correct that there is a difference between education, exercises, and drills because one can't live without the other. Let's switch this, Doc. What if we just said, okay, here's the baton, get after it. No education, no training. Hey, here's the pepper spray, get after it. Now, I would like to be there if we did that because I'm pretty sure somebody would shoot themselves in the face with a pepper spray and we might get a good laugh out of it. But honestly, they all have to work together to ensure our faculty, our students, our teachers, our staff, people in society are safe, right? Because the unthinkable can happen any place. So my 2 cents, education without practical application equals failure.
100%. 100%.
So, yeah, so that's a great discussion, and it never ceases to amaze me that we can't understand what that means, or we're too busy to do things the right way sometimes.
Yeah, and I guess that's really the point. The frustrating thing I have is I just people are busy, they don't really think about the difference between just knowledge and then actual application. Yep. And you can't apply things without practice.
Yeah, my dad, my stepdad, great man, God rest his soul. He ran a team of superintendents and field guys that put in the conveyor systems for all the large warehouses, Amazon, Walmart, and everything. And he'd always have the engineers come in with their book stuff, right? And he'd show it to Kenny, and Kenny would look at him and go, "Look, man, this is great work, but it's not going to work here, here, and here." Because what people don't understand is book knowledge alone can't solve the problem of the warehouse and what's happening and where things were located that weren't on the initial plan. And I appreciate the challenges engineers face. I appreciate the challenges field superintendents face. But we all need to understand you can't live on book knowledge alone. You have to apply it and understand where things can fall apart and what are you going to do when that happens. And that directly relates to active shooter training.
Absolutely.
All right, Doc. Well, look, it is almost the weekend, and I'm staying in town this weekend, but we're going to get some stuff done around the house. I'm excited about that. And we'll be thinking about school safety all weekend, and you have fun with your wife.
I certainly will. Take care. Thank you.
Have a great weekend. With that, Doc and Dave, we are out of here.